Why do I read?
I live in two worlds. One is a world of books.
For me, it's books, books, books.
The mind needs books like a sword needs a whetstone.
I guess people like to read about the things that they want most and experience the least.
Books feed me.
Once upon a time.
I read it in a book once.
Is this a kissing book?
I don't care. I'm not ashamed of my book.
It's not right for a woman to read. Soon she starts getting ideas and thinking.
I checked this out weeks ago for a bit of light reading.
You have never interested me more.
I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Now, when you read, don't just consider what the author thinks. Consider what you think.
I love that book.
I hated that book.
How can you read this? There's no pictures.
Don't read this book.
Those books are good. This might be the best book I've ever read.
I'm gonna go read.
Go ahead, read.
Why do I read? I read because this world is not about me.
Hi, hello.
Hi, hello.
Guess who's back again. Niecy's back. Tell our friends. Niecy's back. I can't go lower than that. Burner.
Hi, my loves.
Hi, Niecy.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, Bookmates. We're joined once again by my lovely sister, Deynece. She just happened to read A Love Hypothesis with us, so we all finished at the same time. We're like, why the hell not? She should.
She's my sister, too.
Yes.
Just saying. You always say that. My sister, mine.
We are all sisters here.
We're all sisters. Our sister.
Our.
Sisters.
There were never such devoted sisters. How's everybody doing? What's everybody drinking?
I'm drinking an energy drink.
I have a Malbec, but I did have a coffee at like 4:00. Because I knew I would need a little extra energy for the night.
I've got my Cabernet. Lita, you've got a
Celsius, a giant
Celsius.
one. I'm getting
wow, that
pumped
is a
up.
giant one.
It is.
Let's go.
16 fluid ounces. If you're wondering.
16?
Not 12.
I just took a sip. You can't do
sorry.
funny. I just took a sip.
Are we supposed to cheers?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to you.
Clang.
Cheers, Bookmates.
Cheers to the love hypothesis.
Cheers to the love hypothesis. Yay.
Yeah, cheers to the love hypothesis.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Look at I got hot dates tonight. Look at this. I think this is a fun Valentine's Day vibe.
Right? We're going to find out. We're going to find out if it's fun or not.
Fun little rom-com moment.
And we are reading The Love Hypothesis by Hazelwood.
Before we get started, we should probably do our spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
For The Love Hypothesis. We're going to be covering it front to back, and we will be talking about every single thing about the book, every plot point, every last pimple, every last character flaw. We will be discussing all of it. So if you haven't read it and you want to read it, hit pause, go read it, come back and listen. Or if you don't plan on reading it, just listen to us chat about it, and then you can walk away feeling like you have read it.
What she said.
Zing! Also, we're going to talk about all the things. Anything sexual, anything triggering. We cuss. We don't care. Welcome to the party. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
All right, so first things first, let's just say, how did everybody like it? Did you like it?
I liked it.
Who are you talking to?
Both of you.
Macy, did you like the book?
I did like the book. I thought that it was like a fun, like fast read, like a little bit predictable, but like, you know, still like, I mean, kind of a bit predictable, but like fun and cute. I was imagining it in being like a really cute movie that I'd be like, I don't know that I'd watch that movie again, but I wasn't mad that I took my time to watch it in the background of what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And that's what this book was for me. I listened in the background while I was like cooking, cleaning, driving, things like that. But I was wanting to hear the story and I enjoyed it. Yeah, like predictable, but cute and just easy.
Yeah, for sure. Lita, what about you?
I thought it was a really fast read. It kind of reminded me of those, it was very bubbly. It reminded me of those old rom-coms we watched growing up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I immediately was like, oh, I think Deynece would like this because it's just so cute and fun and light. Just a nice, quick, easy, fun read. And I liked being in that universe. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was really cute. I felt similarly to Deynece. Like, I probably wouldn't pick it up and like read it again necessarily, but like I didn't regret my time spent on it. It was a fun time, though. I did have a few moments where I like threw my hands in the air like this a little bit. And I'm sure you know why. I'm sure you know why.
Oh, yeah. Communication.
Door number 1. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, the number one. I did wonder when I was reading and I was like, how's Tiffany going to do with this communication stuff? Because, but there is communication. Just.
We'll get into it.
Okay, here we go. And we're going to get into a synopsis here for those of you who may not have read this so you know what is going on. We have Olive Smith to start out, a third-year Ph.D. candidate who's a beautiful, optimistic perfectionist who wants to use her scientific academia career to discover a faster way to identify pancreatic cancer in order to increase survival rates of its victims. She has no father, and her mother died when she was young of pancreatic cancer. We have Adam Carlsen, a freakishly tall, buff, and sexy biology professor with wavy black locks, who everyone hates because he has such savagely high academic expectations for his graduate students. We've got, is it Anne or on, or what is the spell?
On.
What is the pronunciation?
On.
What? On.
It's on.
On is on one. And she's Olive's best friend, who is dating her ex, Jeremy. And we also have Malcolm, Olive's gay promiscuous roommate, who hates Dr. Adam Carlsen. We start out and begin our journey at Stanford University. The setting? Think academic Olympics. Okay. When Olive's best friend, On, and her recent ex-boyfriend, Jeremy, begin dating, Olive is concerned that they will let her feelings get in the way of their romantic journey. So she decides to lie about a new boyfriend and tell them she has a date that afternoon. But when Olive sees her best friend On approaching her that day, when she is supposed to be out on a date she lied about having, Olive frantically ends up grabbing the first dude in the hallway and laying a big fat wet one on them to prove to On she is over Jeremy.
No consent.
No consent. Just can I kiss you? When the kiss is concluded, she realizes that the guy she happened to grab was none other than Dr. Adam Carlsen, the professor everyone hates, and they obviously haven't noticed he is a fine wine yet. The two decide to pretend to date. Adam to convince the board at Stanford that he wants to put roots down and stay on staff in order to free up his project funding, and Olive to make On and Jeremy more comfortable with dating so her past relationship with him doesn't dissuade them from falling in love. And that is where we begin our story.
Our story.
Yay!
The story that begins with a kiss.
A kiss.
Yes.
Yes.
A kiss of fate.
With no consent.
She did not wait for the all clear. She just like went for it.
She said, "Can I kiss you?" Mush. I'm sure he just hated it.
I mean, he kind of like acted like he did at first. But yeah, like my very first note of the whole book, I was like, already with the miscommunication trope with her friend on, like the whole here's my thing. You know, the fake dating has to start somewhere, but if you're gonna do that, then at least have the reason for it be not solvable by like one sentence to a best friend. Right? Like all.
What did you think about that? The fake dating, Deynece? What was your thoughts on the whole, let's pretend to be dating?
It, like, her reason felt like a little made up. Like, I'm like, if you're really best friends, would you have to do that? So it kind of, I agree that I think there could have been a better reason for the fake dating. Like, she wanted to make somebody else that maybe she liked jealous, but I think there could have been a better reason. Cause I'm like, if you guys are really best friends, like, you would just be like, girl, I didn't even like that guy. Date him. Don't feel bad. Like, you know, like it
yes.
wouldn't be like totally necessary.
Yes.
However, that
yes,
is
exactly
but that's what we think. And we have like logical brains, but like we have to remember that like a good part of this world, honey, they aren't logical.
Okay, well, I will just like point out too, like my second note, I have a reference quote for this is page 29, because Adam literally tells her that at the very beginning, and he's like literally explaining to her why this miscommunication is a terrible idea and not how friendship works. on page 29, she said, I was going to handle it by myself. And then he says, and you shouldn't have to lie about your relationship status, especially not so that your friend and your boyfriend can get together guilt-free. That is not how friendship works, last I checked.
So at least someone's aware.
Well, I almost thought that Adam, because it ends up being Adam's idea, doesn't it? He's the one that's like, well, you know, maybe we can help each other here. Like, I can help you out here. And
I think it's
yeah, because he says that he could also use, because she's like, what are your motives for this? And he's like, well, I do have like motives, but like secretly he's been crushing on her for years. So you're thinking maybe like, or at least I was thinking that maybe one of the reasons that he steered it in that direction was because he was like, how can I get more time with her?
Mm-hmm.
How can I make this to my advantage just to spend time with her? Because he's not a creep. He's not really a creep.
No. He's just he's known as the known ass because he's so abrupt and abrasive with everybody. Like, he doesn't give any fucks about the way people think of him, feel about him. Like, he's very like condescending, kind of without meaning to be. He's just like very matter of fact.
But it's also just like being a little bit of a realist because you're a scientist and you're in science and doctors. And he says throughout the book a couple different times, like, I never critique a person. I might critique their work because things can always be better. So sometimes to be good at a job like that, you do have to be able to be like unemotional, but some people are so sensitive that they take any criticism or feedback personally, when he's like, it has nothing to do with the person, but their theories are off or their science is off. And sometimes people are just way too freaking sensitive that they get butthurt.
For sure. You're 100% right.
I think that with Adam, that's his job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's a teacher. All right. It's just like when you write a paper and you think it's the best paper in the world. You're like, this paper is the tops.
I did
and the teacher gets it. And the teacher gets this and they're like, wow, this is full of mistakes. Here's a D. Like, and like marks it all up with red, and you're like seething with anger. You're like, nah, that's
I poured my heart and soul into this paper.
He's just a tough professor.
And he's working for like getting grants worth millions and millions of dollars. So also the people that graduate from your classes and how they do things, it's all a representation of you and your leadership at the end of the day. So it's like, but of course no student thinks of that because they're like, I'm great, I put all this work in.
Yeah.
Right. I have a reference quote for Adam. Description of Adam from a common student standpoint, page 11. Dr. Carlsen might have been a young academic rock star in biology, but he was also mean and hypocritical. And it was obvious in the way he spoke, in the way he carried himself, that he thought himself the only person doing decent science within the Stanford biology department, within the entire world. Probably he was a notoriously moody, obnoxious, terrifying dick. Like, this is a teacher that
harsh.
students cower from in the hallway, like, he's coming. And I was like, I kiss you now. How did you guys like her name?
Olive? I think it's cute.
Yeah. I like it too.
it's
I
cute.
almost named Olivia Olive.
Oh, yeah?
Aww.
Yeah.
Aww.
But I told Livy that, and she was like, that's the scariest thing you've ever said. I was like, I hate that. When she introduced herself to him, she said, I'm Olive, by the way, like the tree.
Not like the food, like an olive tree is the first thing you go to when you hear olive.
Tree. I thought that was funny.
Like, and you would even think olive branch because, like, it's like, oh, I'm extending an olive branch. Nobody talks about olive trees. So if you're going to talk about it, at least, like, be like, I'm an olive, like, the branch. Not like I'm olive like a tree. Like, nobody even refers to olive trees. Like, say a branch or something.
I love it, Deynece.
I'm olive, by the way, like the tree.
Like the tree. Have you ever, because I actually have said this more than once because people, like, ask me a second time.
Petrie like the dish.
Petrie like the dish. I always say that.
Petrie like the dish, or Land Before Time.
Or Land Before Time. That's the second one. Yep.
I always say, yes, Deynece Petrie, like the dish and like the bird from Land Before Time. Yes.
He's a pterodactyl, not a bird.
Well, bird. Well, he's a bird dinosaur.
Lita, like the wrestler.
Like the wrestler?
Wait, there's a P. Oh, yeah.
Same spelling.
Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one who does that. About Adam, I don't know if this was just me, and I'm, like, slightly a little embarrassed, but, like, I feel like it took me a little bit too long in the book to realize that Adam wasn't on the spectrum. Like, his, like, at the beginning of the book, like, his very abrupt, no nonsense, like, was just, like, giving Sheldon Cooper, like, you know, that very unfiltered, like, well, why would we do that? Explain your logic, you know? Like, it just kind of, like, not in a bad way, but just in, like, a Sheldon Cooper kind of, like, explain human emotion to me because I don't see what's going on here. I'm going to file a Chapter 9 a complaint against you. Like, you know what I mean?
Do we know that Sheldon Cooper actually was on the spectrum? Because I feel like sometimes just really genius people are.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, and that's what Adam is. Like, he's a total genius. He has no people skills. He's, like, not aware of the way that his behavior affects other people. Because, like, when Olive tells him about it later, like, the way that people perceive him, like, he doesn't care about it, but he's also surprised by it. Like, oh, I don't know. I was just, like, being honest, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I didn't really even think that at all.
Maybe it's just because the boys have been watching Young Sheldon a lot, so I'm just like...
Oh.
Well, I mean, you can be antisocial and not be on the spectrum.
Oh, I know. I think, like I said, I've just been, like, watching it a lot lately, so just like, oh, what a Sheldon thing to say, you know?
It also seems to me that, like, that opinion of Adam throughout the book is almost singularly from the students. Like, he has a very good relationship with the other teachers at Stanford and teachers at different colleges, and he's very highly esteemed and well liked within the academic community. But his students don't like him because he's a hard ass. But he seems to be generally well liked.
Yeah, and you guys, he's our age. He was 34, 35. Like, we're all older than that. So, like, imagine he's, like, younger than us, but in this position where he's this massive scientist, professor, and, like, it's sometimes when the age gap isn't that dramatic, like, it makes me think of, like, me and then, like, Julius's kids being 20 and 21. Like, they'd be college student ages. And it, even though you have an over doubled age gap, if you look really young, it doesn't feel the same as if your professor's like in their 50s. You know what I mean? And I think that sometimes the generation now has a hard time giving more respect to our age. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
like we're olders but not elders, but we also look young enough to be like, oh, you're like my buddy. You're
totally.
It's like someone that looks the same age as you is like telling you what to do. It's like when you get like a younger person be your boss, like at KFC or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, then also, like, as Olive gets to know him in a completely different way, you start to see a little bit of a different side of him, like the fact that, like, he has these, like, really long-term friendships, like, with Holden, and he's, like, telling him funny stories about, like, their childhoods and, like, their high school days, and the fact that he even pretended to be Holden's boyfriend for prom, and she's like, "Oh, this isn't your first fake dating foray." Like, that was really cute.
That was the cutest story.
Yeah.
I loved that part. I thought that was so cute.
Yeah, so I liked kind of all of getting to know him in a completely different way and just kind of showing you how, like, just like you said, Deynece, like, this is me professionally, but, like, my personal life is very separate, and there's a different kind of persona that you have to take on when you're in a position of leadership like that.
Totally.
I also really loved their meet cute that they had that Olive can't remember because she wears expired contacts and like almost burned her eyeballs out of her head.
I did not know that was a thing with contacts. I didn't know that they could expire.
Well, you don't wear them obviously, but it's probably pretty common for people who have them to know that, you got to get new ones every once in a while. And plus, there's all different kinds. There's some that last forever, and there's some that last for a couple weeks. Like,
yeah, there's like disposable ones. There's prescription ones. Like all the things.
Yeah.
But I really loved that interaction because, like, right away that it's the same person. It just has to be. But it really shows you that Adam was that way back then.
Mm-hmm. So at the very beginning of the book, Olive goes into the bathroom and she can't see anything because of the expired lenses. And Adam goes in there to that bathroom and he's like, "What are you doing in here?" And she's like, "Isn't this the girls' bathroom?" And he's like, "No." So they're having this kind of awkward interaction, but Olive can't see anything. So he's just kind of like a massive blob talking to her, and she's kind of feeling really insecure about her position there and if she has what it takes, and they kind of have this really meaningful conversation about what their goals are and like their reasons for being there and their reasons for continuing in the study and their programs, and it's a conversation that always really stuck with Olive, like years later. Like she was just thinking about Bathroom Guy and the things that he said to her make or break for her kind of staying there. And we find out later that Bathroom Guy is Adam, but he also felt the exact same way about things that Olive said to him and had been kind of like carrying a torch for her all this time, but
for years, and she didn't even know it. And then she just grabs him and lays one on him right in the middle of the hallway out of nowhere, and he's like, "What?"
She didn't know it. She's always been like pining for mystery Bathroom Guy.
Have either of you guys ever just kissed a stranger? Like,
yes,
out of the blue? Not a stranger like that was a stranger and then you went on a date. And as an adult. As an adult.
No, yeah, as
like
an adult.
In a bar?
In a bar.
Yeah.
I have done that. I actually have done that.
I made out with a guy in a bus station. That was probably a low. That was a low, probably.
No, I went to a bar with a couple friends. Like, I mean, this was obviously years ago. Denise, do you remember Habits when that was still around?
Oh yeah.
Habits.
And I was there with a couple of friends, and I'm not a going out type of person, but this guy was like really macking on me, and I got like drinks for all the girls because he like bought drinks for us, and then we were dancing on the dance floor and we made out a little bit, and then we kept being like, "You seem so familiar, like I feel like I've met you before," and by the end of the night,
it's my cousin.
No, but by the end of the night, we did figure it out. He was like, "Oh my God." He's like, "I know who you are." And I go, "Who?" He's like, "I know how we met." And I was like, "How did we meet?" And he goes, "You and your mom came into the cell phone store and I sold you your cell phones like 6 months ago."
He wasn't a stranger, right? He wasn't. Huh? You met him.
Well,
you met him at the cell phone shop.
We didn't remember that. We had a meet cute that we did not remember. And we actually had a really great night dancing all night. And he like poured his heart out to me. But then he never called me. And I've always kind of wondered about that.
Did you leave room for the Lord? That's why he didn't call. You didn't leave room for the Lord.
Well, maybe you need to go back to the cell phone store and see if he's still there, and maybe you'll have your version of the love hypothesis of the kiss that you had and you realized, and maybe you just need to go and look at upgrading your cell phone.
Hey, he didn't call me. That was his choice. Like, he has my number on many levels. So if he wanted to,
maybe he lost it. Okay. He lost it.
Moving on
with that. Deynece. I want to know if Deynece has kissed a stranger.
I mean, yeah. There's been people that like were strangers that maybe I had talked to on a dating app and like had dinner with and ended up kissing them. But not just like I dare you to go kiss that person, and I go and just like kiss a person and we're not talking or anything like that.
Oh, I could never do that. I think that would I would literally like shit right there on the I'd have a little dino right
and like
there.
Julius gave me a kiss the first night that we Julius gave me a kiss the first night that we met at the very end of the night, but at that point I had like been talking with him for like 6 hours, so you're not really a stranger, but not just the like, I don't know who you are and I'm just kissing you for no reason or because I got dared or because of anything. So no, I haven't just like kissed a stranger.
So hypothetically, I'm the only one of the three of us who could actually go out and do that at this
no, but oh yeah, at this moment for sure.
Yeah, at this moment in time. Do you want the belt? Are you going for it?
The belt.
I mean, technically, I could probably walk up and kiss a girl in front of Jared, and he would be fine with that. Does that count?
Yes. I kissed a girl and I liked it.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
On Adam's size and presence, he cocked his head.
Large and in charge.
Crossing his arms over his chest. It had barely been a day since they last talked, but apparently long enough for Olive to have forgotten his presence, or whatever it was, that made her feel like she was small and delicate whenever he was around.
That is a nice feeling to feel small.
When I was looking this up, little fact here, a little fun factoid for you. The love hypothesis, this book, started out as a Kylo Ren Star Wars fanfic between Kylo Ren and, is it Rey?
Rey.
Is that her name? Rey.
Really?
Yeah, and Adam is supposed to be based on Adam Driver. Like, he even looks like it on the cover. It looks like Adam Driver and Rey.
Crazy.
Interesting.
So, but it was actually a fan fiction that was available online that she converted into this book.
Random. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have gotten Star Wars from this.
I didn't
but,
get that either.
No.
And the author is also a woman in STEM. So, like, that's, like, her career. So she was quite passionate about this book.
How did you guys feel about that, like, scientist Stanford University setting? I thought it was really different from, like, anything I've ever read before. It was a nice environment.
It was definitely
because that's
unique,
something that
for sure.
I would never do. So it was so interesting to see, like, a little bit of the background of that kind of a job and, like, see a love story develop in that kind of a career.
Yeah, and also the added layer of Olive's reason for being there, because it's not random. Like, it's not like something she had always wanted to do, but she lost her mother to pancreatic cancer, and it happened so suddenly, like within like a couple weeks of being diagnosed. Like, her mom was dead and she was just a teenager, so that definitely changed her like trajectory on what she wanted to do. And that in the book, that's her whole basis in research, is like pre-screening pancreatic cancer early so that people actually have a chance. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, I should have probably done a little bit of research on that. On pancreatic cancer. I didn't even think of it.
The little bit that I do know about it, it's one of those cancers that almost isn't curable even when you catch it, just because it accelerates so quickly once it's there. And it's hard to detect early.
How old was Olive when she lost her mom?
Like, Patrick Swayze had that. Like, he died of that. I think she was like 14 or 15. 14? Like, she was like a teenager, a young teenager.
Yeah, like a young teen.
Yeah.
But it did say she went into the system, right?
Yes.
And like had like foster.
She didn't have a dad or.
Yeah, so she had like foster situations, and then I think she like emancipate early to like when she was like 17 or something like that, so that she could just kind of be on her own. Yeah.
That's very sad.
Yeah.
Especially when she had such a close relationship with her mom. You know, you're kind of starting out with, she really doesn't have anyone. I kind of felt bad for Olive a lot of times because she cares so much. And I think that really contributed to the miscommunication with the fake relationship. She cares so much about what other people think of her because she doesn't want to lose them.
Yeah.
For any reason. She will do anything to keep those relationships and keep them meaningful in her life because she just craves that so much, even at her own expense of her own happiness.
Yeah, there's some self-sabotage there. Well, just like what we were saying, like at the beginning, like you could literally just tell your best friend, like, dude, I'm not that into him, like just date him. Like, it really could have been that easy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's a really kind of a normal conversation to have when you're 26 years old.
Right? And it's like, and it's not even like they'd been dating, and she was like so broken up over it. Like, they barely
she didn't even like him.
So, like, I have a reference quote for that. It's like right after, like immediately after, because at this point, An isn't dating Jeremy, but you can tell that there are fireworks there, and like she's like refusing to like go out with him. She's like, well, I don't want it to be weird for you. So she's like, oh, well, I'm dating other people, and she's like, no, you're not. So she's just like trying to be like cognizant of all those feelings. But on page 34, she's talking with her, and she says, okay, so you went from dating someone as cool as Jeremy to going out with Adam Carlsen.
What a jump.
I did, and happily, because I never cared that much about Jeremy. Finally, some truth in this conversation. It wasn't that hard to move on, honestly, which is why, please, An, put that boy out of his misery. He deserves it, and above all, you deserve it. Like, and then she already said it's like, it's done. It's like, it's already resolved. You know, so it's like the reason for the fake dating is already resolved in that, like, at the beginning, versus like movies like The Proposal, where like she needs a green card and she's his boss, and like there's like an actual reason to fake date. You know what I mean?
Well, and do you guys wonder, I was wondering what you guys thought about this. Do you think that any part of well, I mean, I guess we know that she didn't know at the end that it was fake, but she was the one that throughout this fake relationship was like encouraging her to be closer to him, like the picnic and putting the sunscreen on him and sitting on his lap and doing all those things. Like, do you think that she, to feel okay about it too, wanted to see that Olive really was actually dating him? Like, do you think there could have been like something in her that was like, I don't know if this is for real. I need to like see that you guys like each other? Because she was the one that kept pushing them to like touch and be closer and do all of these things.
Yeah. That's an interesting question.
I felt like it was from a place of friendship. Like she was saying like, hey, like she wants, I do think that On wants her to be happy. And so she's thinking, hey, if you want it, why don't you do this for your boyfriend? Like, because obviously Olive is like stiff as a board in relationships and she's asexual. Like, she doesn't get attracted to men very easily. She doesn't, it's almost like she doesn't know how to take the steps to be flirtatious, even though she's so optimistic and happy. She has all these like walls built up in her head that makes her in those situations seemingly cripplingly shy.
And like doesn't want to be vulnerable.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be vulnerable. And also I think that part of that is that she doesn't want to lead Adam on. Like, she's always having these terrible thoughts about herself when it comes to Adam. Like, why would he like someone like me? Like, those kinds of thoughts. But On, as her best friend, and she's with her all the time, can probably see like, well, okay, I'm going to help her like come out of her shell a little bit. That's how it came off to me. Like, hey, girl, like, go get it, girl. What are you doing? Go put suntan lotion on that chest.
I agree with that. I also kind of thought that that was On's way of course correcting, because in the beginning she's like, are you being held at gunpoint? Is he blackmailing you? Like, what's the actual story here? Like, so she comes off like immediately very like, bitch, please, like, this is not happening. So I think she kind of felt bad about it. So I feel like that was also her way of like showing her support to Olive, and like, okay, well, if he's actually for some reason really the guy that you're picking, like, I want to be supportive. Even though, like, my initial reaction was not great.
Love how supportive her friends were. I felt like they were all, like, I felt like Malcolm had this moment at the beginning where he was like, bitch, how could you date that dick? And she was like, well, you know, it's fake. Don't tell anyone. Or whatever. And he was like, fucking weird. That's stupid, but okay. Like, I'll support you.
Right.
But I feel like also when she went and talked to On and Malcolm about her relationship with Adam, she learned that they didn't care as much as she thought that they would. Like, they were so supportive of her. And it really shows you how all those intrusive worrying thoughts that she was having were really for nothing. Like, they were for nothing. All they did was stress her out and make her life harder. Because they were like, well, you know, if you really do like this guy, like, we're not going to be assholes to you about it.
Yeah.
Like, we're actually your friends. She has issues with self-worth.
Yes. I completely agree. Well, and what I was going to say is one of the other things that is her, like, one of her goals is to be able to get not like an understudy, but get this program with another professor for her pre-screening research, and how crazy that it ends up being Adam's really good friend lifelong friend. So within all of this tangled web, she's writing emails to this professor from another school, from somewhere else, and she's trying to figure out, like, how am I gonna better myself and get approval to, like, understudy with somebody for this pre-screening project. And then there's all of this back and forth with meeting this person, and then we come to find out that this person is Adam's, like, lifelong closest friend.
Yeah.
Oh, the tangled webs we weave.
Tom the Tomcat. He's a Tomcat.
Hi, I'm Tom. Yeah, so
Tom.
Yeah, so he Tom works at Harvard in Boston, and he's very prestigious in that field, so it would be a huge win for Olive to be able to work in his lab, because she's like reached the point in her research where she needs a more well-funded lab to continue her research. So she's just been like querying a bunch of different places, and this Tom guy is the one that gets back to her, and he's like, well, I'll be there, and then maybe we can set up a meeting. But turns out he was there to visit Adam because they're buds. Mm-hmm. They're bros.
And they were working on a project together as well.
Yeah, that Adam is also looking for grants.
Did you guys know right away that when I read Tom Benton is the name of this character, and he's a grade A asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Grade A asshole.
An A+ asshole.
Yeah, and you don't find out for a while that he's a grade A asshole, but I thought he was an asshole at their first meeting in the coffee shop. Did you guys feel that way too?
Oh, yes. He's very, like, abrupt with her. Like, oh, did someone you know die? How old were you? Like, just, like, really intrusive, like, abrasive questions at her. That initial Tom meeting was also the first time in the book where I was like, okay, it just got kind of cute. Because, like, up until this point, I'm like, this is so cringy. Because the dialogue is quite cringy. But let's be honest, like, 20-year-olds are cringy most of the time. But when Tom is being really inappropriate with his questions to Olive, page 91, Tom! Adam interrupted, his tone sharp. He set his tea down with more force than necessary. Stop harassing my girlfriend.
Love that.
And, like, that was, like, kind of the first time that he, like, engaged in that way, like, with the fake dating with her. And it was, like, his friend, like, Deynece, like you said, like, his, like, almost lifelong friend. And for him to, like, stand up for her in that moment, to him of all people, and then call her his girlfriend, I was like, okay,
I know.
I was like, yeah, okay, fine, that was cute.
And he put his arm around her chair,
like, very protective, like, and I was like, okay.
I wouldn't have been mad if some of that would have happened a little earlier in the book, but then I definitely liked the second half, or, like, after we got in it a little bit, it was much more enjoyable, because then you're like, okay, I can see where this is going, and I like it, because you want something to be interesting, like, it is predictable, but
it definitely hit its stride. More in the second half, for sure.
I think that it's more of a slow burn, for sure.
Yeah,
like, on the romance front, it's a very slow, like, you're working up to it, and you're just painstakingly like, oh my god, just take her already, just take her right up against the wall already, let's go.
Push all the beakers out of the way, and just, like...
Yeah. Well, and if you're going to pretend to have a relationship, like, why not just see and have a little fun? I guess would be my thought. If I was her, I would be like, well, if we're doing this, it's fake, but, like, let's play.
Well, that is one of the things that they established at the very beginning, like, no sex.
That's true.
That was, like, here's the parameters. This is a business transaction, like... When we're here, we'll make it appear as if we're dating, but, like, minimal touching, like, but just, like, we actually have to, like, and they set up a coffee date once a week to make it, like, believable. Like, she's like, we actually have to be seen with each other, like, if anybody is going to believe this. So, so they kind of establish it, because they, outside of school time, they don't see each other.
When he, like, puts it in, and it's like, and with one thrust, he annihilates the no sex rule or something. I was like, whoa, that's very... We annihilated it. We were talking with Tom. Do you remember when he was like, do you remember when he was like, so, tell me about the program. What's cool about it? So that was the weirdest way to ask. Like, what?
And
what's cool about
Adam, like, correct him and say, like, it doesn't matter what's cool about it, but, like, what matters is, like, the reasoning behind it and all of her research and all of that. So, like, almost off the bat, you're getting a glimpse of the fact that Tom doesn't really give a shit about, like, the research, that he's in it for, like, a hot piece of ass type of thing, and that he's a dick. And right off the bat, Adam is like, how about you ask her about her research? How about you ask her about all of these things?
Exactly. And that kind of enhanced my, like, well, maybe he's just, like, not very self-aware, you know, because he's so, like, one-track mind about...
Well, for me, it was like, did it start out that he was really interested in her research? And then when he found out, because he doesn't know at first that she is in a relationship with Adam until she meets him. So, like,
right,
at
but
first,
you know
what
that
was
he
his
has
plan?
his own motive of, oh, pretty girl, got it. So you know that, like, right off the bat, I mean, you don't necessarily know, but...
Like, before he knew that she was dating Adam...
Probably.
Yeah, probably. I was thinking that, too.
I think so, because all of the other... Think about, like, the other people, and I can't think of their exact names, who had warned her, like
Holden did, too.
Be careful around that one.
Holden is even an older friend to Adam than Tom was. Like, Tom kind of came in later. But even Holden warns Olive a little bit, like, okay, just, you know, so it kind of does set that a little bit of a precedent.
Like, everybody warns without specifics. Like, they give the warning, but they don't elaborate when she says, what do you mean? They're like, oh, just watch it, like, type of thing. So I think that those people have heard through the grapevine the type
or
of
have experienced
person that
something.
Yeah.
Or have, like, Holden, you know, I'm kind of surprised reading this, because this kind of behavior that we got from Tom, this, like, sexually assaulting, like, severe degrading of women kind of behavior, I almost wonder, like, Holden's aware of it, but what about Adam? Like, he doesn't seem to have any clue.
No, none at all.
Yeah.
That was one little plot holy thing, and we'll get into that a little bit later, that because I have a couple thoughts about that. We'll get into it later. So I don't know about you guys, but I really thought that that scene where they were kind of having a little, kind of one of their first more intimate moments of conversation, when they're, like, in, like, a rec room late at night, and, like, the light is broken in there, so they're kind of sitting there in the dark. And, like, he had taken the last of the salt and vinegar chips, and she was like, oh, God damn it. And he was there, and he shared them with her. And they're kind of having a really cute moment. And then he's about to tell her something, and he's like, listen, Olive, like, I really think that you should know. And then they're interrupted, because who is it? Was it Malcolm? No, it was some other, like, student, like, comes in and is like, oh my God, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. And then we never got back to that moment. And I was like, I really felt like he was going to reveal that he was bathroom guy in that moment. And I was like,
I think so.
Oh yeah, I
so
thought that
close.
too.
I think so.
So close.
That would have been too easy.
Damn it.
The other thing I thought during that scene was that salt and vinegar chips are not date chips. Okay, that's not a kissable flavor.
Well, they're not planning on kissing at this point.
But I know, but, like, this felt like a moment where it could happen. You know, it's late at night, nobody's there, it's dark in the break room, so dark she didn't see him sitting on the couch.
I guess better than, like, nacho cheese Doritos.
Right, and it's like, well, they've both had some, so does that make it okay? But,
Yes.
like, also, vinegar is a weird flavor to be making out.
I'm not a fan of salt and vinegar chips.
Oh, they're my fave.
Heathen. I love
Obsessed.
them.
Like, they're
I like the dill pickle ones,
they're in the
too.
middle. Like, I've never bought them on purpose, but if they're the only thing there to eat, like, I will eat them.
Oh no, they're my go-to first choice. They're my first choice chip. Yeah, first choice chip.
Okay.
My favorite thing is to dump a few in the regular Lay's bags and just let havoc wreak. Because, like, you never know who's going to grab it. And I'm like, yeah.
That is so
I should prank the boys and be like, here, I got you these Lay's chips.
Love that idea.
That's so funny.
I have to do pranks all day, every day. Like, I just have to have fun with everybody. Did I tell you about the other vinegar thing that I did?
No.
Well, Jared he always has a glass on the counter, right? Full of water. And he's always giving me shit because I washed the glass, right? And he's like, leave it here. And I'm like, okay, well, it's been 2 days. Don't you want fresh water? Like, it's just sitting, it's just still water on the counter. He's like, it'll be there when I want it. And I'm like, what if there's something else in there? And you've been at work all day, you come home.
The cats could pee in it.
He was like, well, I would know. He was like, I would know that there was something in that water. And I was like, okay. So I took the glass and I filled it to the top with vinegar. Okay. And
like just white vinegar?
Yeah, just like clear white vinegar. And I was like, oh, looks exactly like water. You know, I just like poured it. And I mean, you can't not smell it.
I think like a tablespoon would have accomplished the same thing.
The whole fucking counter smells like vinegar because there's a glass of it right there. And I'm like, we're going to find out. So he comes home from work. He picks it up and takes the biggest drink of my whole life. Sprays vinegar everywhere, starts coughing. And I was like, well, I'm right. That was it. I'm right. Yay.
So good.
I have a really random note. Page 35, when An is like trying to figure out if she's being serious about Carlsen, she says, Carlsen, is he blackmailing you? Did he find out you're an aberration and pee in the shower? Like, number one, how do you know that Olive pees in the shower? And also, like, number two, it's not that weird. Like, don't we all pee in the shower?
No, let's find out. Deynece, do you pee in the shower?
I have peed in the shower, but I do not, like, actively pee in the shower. I usually try to go pee before I get in the shower. That's not something I like to frequent. It is something I have done in my life, but it's not something that I'm like, let's get in the shower, wash my face and pee while I shower. Like, it's not a thing that goes hand in hand for me.
Tiffany, do you urinate in the shower?
I mean, I don't not urinate in the shower. Like, yeah, I have no, like the same thing as you. I'm like, okay, but who hasn't peed in the shower? Like you, it's not like well, I have to get in the shower, so I'll just wait and pee there. Like that's not, but like we've all peed in the shower. Like it's not that crazy. And she's like, he found out you're an aberration that pees in the shower. Like, also, how would Adam have found that out? Like, it was just such a weird sentence to be in there. I was just like,
feel like that's the cleanest place you could pee.
Right.
Right?
Like, it's not that weird.
But then, like, do you wash the floor every time after? Because, like, there's pee on the floor.
Deynece, you've done grosser things in the shower.
Stepping on it. What is grosser things than peeing?
I mean, lots of can happen in the shower. Like, pee is actually the most sterile thing that you can have. Urine is sterile, actually. You know that, right?
The first round, but if you drink it twice, you die. If you drink it twice in a row.
I'm not saying you should drink it. I'm just saying, like, on a surface, it's sterile. It's sterile.
No, but if you're like, say you're in the ocean and you got no water and you got to piss, so you piss, you can drink your piss. But if it happens again and you're like, I'll just drink it again, you'll fucking die. If a shark doesn't eat you first, your urine will kill you. If you drink it twice. Scientific facts. Hypothesis.
All that to say, it's not that weird if someone has peed in the shower. Like, if she just like made it into like this huge deal, like, you're an aberration, You're an aberration. Who has ever peed in the shower? Like, everyone?
Hypothesis. When compared with multiple types of models and furniture, Adam Carlsen's lap will be rated in the top 5th percentile for comfort, coziness, and enjoyment. I loved that part when she had to sit on his lap.
I love
Do you remember
That's
that?
cute.
Like during that was cute. I was like, ooh, oh my gosh. And she's getting all comfy and like falling asleep. How weird is that, by the way? To sleep in that situation.
Yeah.
Like surrounded by all those people, sitting on your a teacher's lap.
Right.
I loved it when they started texting. I thought their little texting was so cute. And like he was
really
away
cute.
and she was like, I wonder if he's thinking about me, because obviously they're both insanely busy and they're not going to be together 24/7. It's like very realistic with how they only see each other like once, twice a week. They don't have time.
And I liked how she'd be like, I can't see him for another week. And then you like realize, oh, you're starting to catch the feels, because she's already like, I won't see him till next Thursday. And,
Well, and like their like weekly coffee date definitely starts as like a obligation. This is all for show to them, just like genuinely like, okay, it's Wednesday and I need to talk about my week. And they start looking forward to those interactions with each other. And then to the point where I forget what happens. Something happens and it wasn't a coffee day. And he was like, well, let's go get coffee. And she's like, but it's not Wednesday. It's not Wednesday. That means they get an extra
And I loved
one.
it when he went on a trip and she was like, man, and it was their day to go out. And he texted her like a picture of a pumpkin spice latte that he had bought, which he hates. He doesn't want to, he just wants his coffee black, no sugar or cream, just regular and boring like me. Like, and she always gets the unicorn frappe or a pumpkin spice latte. And he bought one. He was like, do you think they'll let me smuggle this on the plane? It was just so cute. I was like, oh, he's thinking about her.
that was really cute.
How about when she told him, fuck you? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And there was that interaction with Olive. You know, she's just in the lab. She's waiting for class to start. And that kid named Greg storms in.
Yeah.
And his paper just, or his proposal just got denied by Adam. And he like blows up at her. This is on page 117. You're fine with all of this, with him acting like that, like an asshole on a power trip. You don't give a shit about the way he treats everyone in the program. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to stomach being with him. So it's almost, I almost wonder if that's what adds to Adam's antisocial behavior. It's because he's met with a lot of animosity in the student body. And when you're perceived that way, you're not really going to change the way that you are doing your job, because that's your job. Considering Greg's words from Olive's perspective, page 117, she hadn't concerned herself too much with the feelings of other grads. She had always been a bit of a loner, and focusing on the opinion of people she barely interacted with seemed like a wasteful use of time and energy. Still, maybe there was a glimmer of truth in what Greg had said. Adam had been anything but a jerk to Olive. But did accepting his help while he acted horribly towards her fellow graduates make her a bad person?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is one of those ethical dilemmas that she finds herself in, for sure.
When she was like, how come you're so mean to your students? And he's like, this is my job. I'm going to put you in your place right now, because this is my livelihood and this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, I love that he put her in check.
Yes.
Like, he was like, we're not just like, I'll talk about this with you, but this is my job. Like, I'm sorry that you don't like it, but
yeah, this isn't a...
Yeah, I was definitely team Adam in that regard. And he was like very practical back. And like you were saying earlier, Deynece, he's like, this isn't personal. Like, this is just like, I'm their professor and I have a job to do. And I'm not going to say it's good when it wasn't good, because that's also not going to get them to produce their best work. Like, they need to go back to the drawing board, and sorry, not sorry.
And she was like, well, fuck you. I was like, oh, that was pretty childish.
This is also a huge reason why I typically avoid contemporary romance, because most of them have a like 20-year-old protagonist. I'm always like, ugh. Can we just get to the mature version of this person now? And it's always like usually like a first love scenario too. They just like don't have like the life experience. So it's like the older I get, like, you know, if I would have read this book, you know, 10 years ago in my 20s, you know, I would have related to all of it in a completely different way. And I'm today years old when I'm like, oh wow, I just like don't relate to a lot of protagonists anymore because they're so much younger than me. That it's like harder to separate it.
Sometimes I like to picture myself at that age. I kind of like it sometimes. If the dialogue's not too bad, I like it.
Exactly.
Because sometimes I like to I know that I'm 36, but in my mind I feel like I'm younger than that. Like I just, you know, like your brain just makes you think, well, I'm that age, but really I'm not at all. Wait a second.
I don't know.
And
My
so
brain
sometimes I
feels like
like
I'm older.
Well, sometimes I just like picturing characters that are that much younger and like trying to go back to that place where I was that age in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like I like you were saying, like when the writing is good and the dialogue isn't bad, it's great. Or like in Akatar, for example, like Feyre's 19, but she's a mature character and she reacts realistically within her world and her maturity level in a way that's not cringy versus like Violet, who's like so cringy and immature even though they're like the same age, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Violet's a mess.
She's insufferable.
Onyx Storm. It's
Oh.
coming.
um
And after they have this interaction where she says, fuck you, she doesn't see him for a while until the picnic. And he's completely
the
topless.
picnic.
I loved the picnic. That's when I was like, okay, finally we're gonna get some like things that maybe feel uncomfortable but like different and good. I like loved the picnic. I was like, more of this, please.
I just had this visual of her having way too much lotion on her hands and being like, eh.
Well, in every fake dating scenario needs the to break the touch barrier, and it always is someone else being like, you have to, and they're like, oh no, like, oh, there's a mistletoe, you guys have to kiss, and they're like, oh, we kissed earlier, mwah, and they're like, no, kiss her for realsies, and then it's like, oh, you know, it's like there's always like that fake dating moment where they get forced into the physical barrier. Also, that scene where he like pushes the car out of the way.
Oh yeah.
And then she's like, well, go kiss him and stuff. And
what are you doing here?
I don't know if she said it or he said it, something about like being like, oh, I'm all dirty from pushing a car. I'm like, he pushed a car for like 3 seconds. It's not like he was like working in a like garage all day. like it's not like all sweaty from his like
he's not covered in motor oil from pushing.
Like he just pushed a car. Like I can't.
But also sometimes that's sexy. Like a guy like kind of sweaty because they just like worked out hard or they just did something. I'm like, give it to me. Like when Julius gets off like home from the gym or off the elliptical and he's like actually dripping sweat, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna lick your neck. Like you're delicious.
It was giving like Mike Delfino vibes from Desperate Housewives.
Totally. Oh my god. Yes. Yes.
Mike Delfino.
Yes. Delfino. Oh man.
Remember when
that was good?
I haven't seen him in a while. Remember when that was good? That was a great show.
That was a great show. They just don't make as good shows anymore. Because I feel like so many shows get canceled before they can really hit their stride. Because like so many shows that we loved throughout the years would totally be canceled in the first or second season now. Because nothing is ever given a chance to be fleshed out anymore.
Okay, I have a question. Why did they all need to have their shirts off to be playing ultimate frisbee?
I know, I thought that same thing too. Like, again, if you're gonna do it, make it viable. Like, make it a real reason. Like, shirts and skins,
I mean,
or...
But if it's, like, summertime and it's hot outside, it's a picnic.
But also, I feel like the way that Adam, like we were talking about earlier, is very professional, and that, like, I was like, Adam has his shirt off. That doesn't seem like something Adam would do in a professional, like, school environment.
It's all right. We're okay with
But
it.
maybe he was but maybe, like, you know, deep down, he's trying to be like, you're the girl that I kissed. Notice me. Like, maybe if I make her, like, physically want me, maybe this could go somewhere else. So maybe, like, he made those little choices, like, out of his normal comfort zone to be like, maybe you might
like,
think I'm
look at
attractive and sexy.
me.
Yeah, like, ooh, do you ride?
The lotion won't go in the skin for some reason.
It puts the lotion on its skin. Well, and, like, she's so awkward too. She's like, hi. An says I have to put sunscreen on you.
I've been told I have to do this. I have too much on my hands.
Yeah, but deep down, she's like, holy shit, I'm, like, creaming in my pants.
I just got drenched out for a whole nother reason.
That was a little rated R.
We are rated R.
It's nice and creamy.
Okay, so... Okay. Kerr says when she's talking with Malcolm and she's admitting the fact that she's catching feelings for Adam. And she's like, well, I can't possibly tell him because that would be, you know, so awkward and that's, like, not what we agreed to, blah, blah,
that
blah.
made me
Like,
crazy.
I can't tell him. Right? Like, and he overhears it. And I was like, okay, finally, like, the conversation's gonna get rolling. And no, what does she do? She lies again and
she fucks it up.
I literally just, like, screamed into my phone because I do, like, voice text to, like, take my notes on my phone. I was like, no. I was like,
Here's my note for that. I hate that she didn't tell him that she wasn't in love with Jeremy when he overheard them. He is clearly in pain from this. Funny how she is this brilliant scientist that is helping cure cancer, but can't pick up that he's obviously in love with her. Like, it's so obvious.
It's so obvious. And, like, that was the moment of, like, if you're also going to do miscommunication trope, those are the moments where you, like, start to course correct and figure shit out. And, like, veering harder into miscommunication when she, like, I was like, miscommunication trope again? I hate it. Don't do it. I hate it so much.
It's like she took the wrong turn.
Yes,
it's like she took the wrong turn off the interstate.
I was so
like she missed the exit.
bugged, and I was like, what a missed opportunity.
Oh, yeah, it was making me absolutely crazy because I feel like, I guess, for me within my relationships, communication is key. And, like, I'm overly transparent. Like, because of me not being vocal enough in the past, and that didn't work so well for me, I'm extremely vocal. And, like, I started out my relationship with Julius, I said all of the things knowing it would hurt him. You know what I mean? Like, not holding back for feelings, but just saying, like, I'm going to say all the things, and I know that this is going to hurt you, but I have to say all of the things. I have to put it all out there. So it literally made me crazy. I was just like, you don't even understand. If you just say the thing, then you guys can decide as adults if you agree on the thing or you disagree on the thing. But yeah, it made me crazy. It made me crazy because then it's like, you're obviously having these feelings, so it's not make-believe anymore. They've gotten past the point where they were doing it for the school thing or her getting into the program or her and Jared, like the other friend relationship. And so, yeah, it made me, like, poke my head out.
Yeah, you're 100%
well,
right.
I was angry.
Yeah.
Because I felt like Adam didn't deserve that.
No, it was really mean. And Deynece, you're 100% right, because if you're going to be miserable one way or another, at least be miserable because you got everything off your chest and you like just laid it all out.
Yeah.
But to like go through that kind of agony over a miscommunication that you yourself caused, like nothing makes me more crazy than
and
that.
you're the one that can fix it. Like you can truly fix it.
Exactly, with one
Like
conversation.
it made me crazy.
I will say that here's the thing that I did like about the miscommunication in this book. Because it's almost like a journey for Olive to understand why that's not okay. And Adam kind of helps her, and the people around her help her to understand that she's hurting herself by behaving this way, by making excuses, by making things up, by trying to make everyone happy around her in any way possible, even at the sacrifice of her own thoughts and feelings and well-being. And you can tell by the end of the book, like when they are together and they're done and everything's happened and everything's okay now, that that's not going to be something that she repeats in the future. So it's almost like her journey of understanding how this kind of miscommunication hurts you.
Well, and I think it goes back to what you were saying
That's a good point.
earlier about her not having a lot of self-confidence or like self-worth, because she's somebody that doesn't have that family support. And, who knows what her situation was in the system and not feeling like maybe she was enough, So I feel like it goes back to what you were saying, that like she's afraid that if she says something that it could change the way somebody feels about her, and like probably a little bit of a fear of rejection, even though she's not even putting herself out there.
Adam trying to convey to Olive not to take insults or opinions of others to heart on page 235. I know you don't, but that's the problem, isn't it? He stared at her, and he was so close. She could see how the yellows and greens mixed into the clear brown of his eyes. It's not what they say. It's what you think. It's that you think that they're right. She just constantly is just pushing her self-worth down and down and down, like it's not as important as everyone else's. And I think by the end, she's really learned that you can have much better relationships in general when you do just like put your heart on the line and you're honest. That you can have growth from those relationships. So the miscommunication drove me crazy when it was happening, but at the end of the story, I was okay with it because I felt like it was like a journey of growth.
Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah.
As to where like people like Violet, it's like she's just completely insane. Like it's never going to end. You know what I mean? Like it just drives you crazy. You're like, oh God.
I also was really, really bummed when he found her crying and she didn't tell him the real reason why. Like that made me so sad because I'm like, you have this trust in him enough to care about him and want this, even if it is just as a friend, purely as a friend. It made me so. I was like, I know you're not going to tell him right now, but it made me crazy.
Well, it almost is like it goes back to when you receive that kind of abuse, how you react to it. Like I think people think that you have to be brave to speak out right away, but sometimes you're just like, I'm sure she was afraid. Like her whole career, her whole academic career is on the precipice of this big thing, and she's afraid. And she's also afraid of hurting Adam, of Adam not believing her.
I really thought the direction that scene was going was going to be very different, and I thought it was going to be, again, kind of the same thing with like the table scene where like, okay, finally a conversation is going to happen. When she goes into the bathroom to like take a shower and change before they like settle in, I was like, how awesome would it have been if he'd have been like, I missed your talk. Can I watch it on the recording on your phone while you're doing all that stuff? And then him finding that recording and her coming out mid-recording and she's like,
oh my God, I thought that was going to happen exactly that she was going to be in the shower and he was going to watch it.
It would have been so amazing.
Yes.
He's like, why the fuck didn't you tell me? And she's like, I didn't know and I didn't think you'd believe me. And he'd be like, what are you talking about? And then I was like, that would have been so much more satisfying, but that's just me.
That made me think of Baby's Day Out. Or you would kill it if I was reading this. Or
steal it if I were reading this book. Also, there was a couple times, like you were saying, Lita, how she's just like so like oblivious. I was like, Jesus, Olive, don't be so dense. Like when Holden, his best friend, tells her like, oh, I'm so glad that you guys have been like started dating. Like he's been like pining after you forever. This amazing girl that he's been after for forever. Page 194. And he says that he's actually gotten a lot better since you guys started dating. Olive felt on the verge of a full body cringe. Unsure of what to say, she settled for a simple, painful, awkward, really? Holden nodded. Yep, I'm so glad he finally scrounged up the courage to ask you out. He's been going on and on about this amazing girl for years, but he was concerned about being in the same department, and you know how he is. He shrugged and waved his hand. I'm glad he finally managed to pull his head out of his ass. And her first thought isn't to be like, it's someone else. Like, that's
it's
what
me from the bathroom. Like, come on.
Like, don't be so dense, Olive. Like, you're his best friend. Like, there's no way that he confused you with some other random woman. Like,
yeah, she's literally denser than a block of cheese.
Yeah. She just doesn't see, like I said, like she's like this brilliant scientist, but she can't see all these obvious signs. Or she like also won't let herself believe it. Like she won't let herself have it. Hypothesis, approximately 2 out of 3 fake dating situations will eventually involve room sharing. 50% of room sharing situations will be further complicated by the presence of only one bed.
I love how he's like, there'll be 2 beds. She's like, no, there won't. There's always just one. There's never 2.
And he's like, I got the confirmation. It's 2 beds.
And she's like, I'm telling you, we're going to get there. The honeymoon suite is going to be the only thing available.
The vibrating heart-shaped bed is the one that we're going to get.
Or how about on page 257, when they're actually like starting to get physical with each other in the hotel room? And Adam calls her on it again. And again, she lies because they're starting to become physical. And she's like, no, I want this.
And he's like, you're in love with someone else.
And he says, you're in love with someone else. Like, I can't do this. And instead of just telling him, like, it was you, you idiot, and let's just fuck me now, or, like, just, like, take me now. Like, again, just, like, missed opportunity. Like,
What did you guys think about the sex at the end?
It was like good, but so cringy too. Like
so cringy.
I was wanting it to all happen, but then I was like, just shut up. Just stop talking. Shut up.
So awkward and cringy. Stop.
I liked it when she was like, it's not gonna fit. And she was like, you could take it.
Yeah, but I'm also like, this guy is in between your legs. Why are you thinking about what you're gonna do to him? Just like let him have his moment. Like she's just so in her head, and it was making me crazy. Like, girl, you're never gonna have an orgasm when you're in your head like that. Like, relax.
Chill out.
She said that he's got a gigantic wiener though.
Yeah.
That would be a little stressful. Like, gigantic is too much.
It's too much.
Gigantic.
Been there, done that, and it kind of sucks, honestly.
It's a real eggplant, Adam.
Too big is bad. It's bad.
Yes.
But yeah, like there were parts of it that were like really spicy and like, okay, I'm liking that. And then it's like, and then that mouth just like, shut up, Olive. Just like,
yeah, I was like, just shut up.
Shh. Let it happen.
I liked it.
You want this to happen? Just shut your mouth.
And you could just tell also, like, how dumb are you? Like, you can't tell by the way that he is, like, having sex with you, like, the things that he's saying to you, that he is obviously has feelings for you. Like, you can't pick up on that chemistry.
Right? Well, and he even says it. I have it written somewhere else, and I was going to say it later, but, like, at one point during this, he's, like, going down on her, and she's like, why would you want to do that? And he's like, I can't remember a time that I didn't want that. So he's literally telling her in that moment that, like, he wants this now. He's also always wanted it with her. Like, how much more do you need? She's fucking dense. It was funny.
Also, did you guys get the impression that he fucks like he's had a lot of sex?
Yes. Yeah, it was very like...
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. And I wrote that down. I was like, Adam's character is also doesn't make sense to me a lot because he says things like, I don't like being touched. I don't like to touch people. But then when it comes to the sex scene and like especially the bonus chapter that we get from his perspective later,
yeah, that
it is like, who are you and what's happened to the character of Adam? Like, this is a different guy, you know, like it just definitely didn't match up from yeah, I agree.
But again, it's like we're only given the perspective mainly from his students or from Olive's mindset of him or from his friends. We're not actually seeing his like actual personality.
He says things like, I don't like to be touched. I don't like to touch people. Like, I'm not really like an affectionate person. But then, you know, so it belies what happens later for sure.
There's a lot of people that are like that though, Tiffany, that aren't they're not super touchy-feely, you know, they're not hugging people.
Right, but
they're not people who are huggers.
Well, but he indicated, just like Olive was saying, like, I'm not really interested in sex that much, and he's like, I kind of get it because that's not really my move either. So it seemed like there was...
She came across to me, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but she came across to me like she was asexual.
Well, and she says that, yeah.
Like, and there's several things that comments that are made that she wasn't attracted to Jeremy. There were other people there that were like ripped at the picnic and she wasn't attracted to any of those people. And she even tells him when they're about to be intimate, like, I have a hard time like being intimate with people. I have a hard time being attracted to people. Page 47. Maybe she was unlovable. Maybe spending so many years alone had warped her in some fundamental way, and that was why she seemed to be unable to develop a true romantic connection, or even the type of attraction she often heard others talk about.
Yeah.
But I don't have that problem with you.
But then she follows that up with, like, unless there's trust there and there's something more to go on. And I tend to be more that way, like, in real life. Like, it's one thing for me to want to smash all my book boyfriends, but, like, in real life, like, I have to, like, feel a certain connection with someone to feel physically attracted to them, even if they're, like, super hot.
It's not like he's, like, rolling in busted.
Yeah. he ain't rolling and busted. I love that, Deynece.
But she's been around Adam for years and has never felt a certain way towards him. It's only after they start getting to know each other and she feels...
Because she's never seen his six-pack.
I mean, there's that too. She is like...
She's never put lotion on his chest.
When On is like free... Like, so they're like... They hooked up... And then she turns her phone back on and On is freaking out about where Olive is. And she's like, where are you? everything is crazy and you're missing this. Like, I thought it was going to be that Tom's behavior got outed. And that, because that professor was Dr. Aslan, I think it was also asking her, please send me the recording of your talk. So I'm like, okay, well, it didn't happen with Adam. So now it's going to happen. Like, she's going to send the recording, not realizing that she was still recording that whole time. And, like, I thought that it was going to be something big. And then, and she's like, okay, I'm coming to your room. Like, I can't believe you're missing this. Like, where are you? Everything is going crazy. And then it's like, oh my gosh, guess who Malcolm?
I know. I thought that was a little like, okay.
Like, that's it. Like, come on. Like, it is not that dire. Also, Malcolm it was, but also, we have never, in the entire book up until this point, has Malcolm ever mentioned Holden and that he has been dying to sleep with him and had been pining for him this whole time. So, like, there was no, like, payoff for us. Like,
he
oh
did
my
say
God.
it a couple of times.
Like, oh my God, guess who? Who have I always wanted to sleep
did.
with? Yeah, but, like, in passing, it wasn't like
He was like,
thing.
he said he was always crushing on that hot teacher, doctor or whatever, Holden.
Right, but, like, crushing is totally different than, like, I've been holding a candle for him and all I've ever wanted to do is fuck this guy. Like, it's very, like, blasé. And so, I don't know, it just, I was like, that...
I felt like the level of the sense of urgency, the level of urgency didn't match the...
Yes, exactly. 100%.
I got a hot professor of my own. This is part of Tom's rant towards Olive on the stage, that she's accidentally recording, and he doesn't know it, but it's the end of his career. He's a real piece. Here we go. Oh, please, you're telling me you thought your pitiful abstract was selected for a talk because of its quality and scientific importance? Someone here has a very high opinion of herself, considering that her research is useless and derivative, and that she can barely put together 2 words without stuttering like an idiot. You think it's not true that scientists in the field want to impress the great Adam Carlsen enough to kiss the ass of whoever he's fucking at the moment? I certainly did when I told his very mediocre girlfriend that she could come work for me. But maybe you're right. Maybe you know STEM academia better than I do. Awful.
Like, just a piece of
work.
And
that's just the tip of it. He goes on and on and on, just like putting her down and cussing at her and just speaking to her like she's a piece of garbage.
Well, and not only that, but like a whore. He's like, we both know that you're going to fuck me because that's what's going to happen. Because, like, if you want anything to happen, like, you know what the score is. Like, why? I know that's why you're fucking Adam. You'll fuck me too. Let's not make any bones about it. And she's just like, what are you... What?
And this is so terrible, too, because Olive has a fear of public speaking, and this has been her first, like, big public speaking event, and then immediately following it, he's like, you're stuttering like an idiot, like, you're terrible at this. Why do you think you got this? It's not because...
Like, he's breaking her down not only as a female, but then also as a human being, as a student, as somebody who's putting themselves out there, yeah.
Well, and Adam, like, later, she doesn't tell him that it was Tom, but when he finds her crying, she basically kind of sums up like, oh, I just overheard people saying some things bad about it. And he, was like, well, who are they? I'm taking names, I'm kicking asses, and she won't say. But he's like, I know that that's not true because, like, it's a blind study or a blind submission process to be, like, on this panel. So he's like, the fact that, like, you're dating me, like, that has nothing to do with anything because it's a blind application and it's based on merit and work alone. He's like, your work is brilliant and that's why you got chosen. And, like, I had nothing to do with it. So So at least like she has that, and it just shows you even more how much Tom is preying on those insecurities when he actually, and she kind of comes to realize that too. She's like, no, he just wants to steal my research is what's happening because it's fucking good and he wants to take credit for it.
And obviously he's done this before.
And obviously he's done
like, this can't be the first time. He's super comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Saying all these
okay,
things.
So did anybody get frustrated that there was clearly a story there with one of Adam's past relationships and him, and we just like never got to expound on that? Because he's like, oh, Adam's last girlfriend.
I missed that.
Like, well, you had just read it in the quote, like, oh, his last girlfriend came to work for me, and like, look how that turned out. Like they'll just hop around. Yeah. Like, so like they're like, okay, so there's history there with also maybe some sabotage with some of Adam's other relationships, and we never get any backstory of Adam's really. Like, he talks about his parents a little bit, but when it comes to relationship stuff, we never get with Adam. Like, it's all just very mysterious. Because, like you said, it's clear that he's done this before, and he's good at sex. Yeah. He's a horn dog, but like we have like zero context for any previous relationships history of Adam's.
Yeah, he's like, you could take it. You could take my dick.
That dick. Also,
let me get it in there.
Okay, so I get that she wouldn't tell Adam immediately about everything with Tom, but it did not make sense to me that she would not at least tell On and Malcolm immediately about that. And I really, really did not like the fact that they also had to find out accidentally by overhearing that recording. And then initially she tries
that's not
to like
uncommon though. For people that are sexually harassed to not report it or not talk about it. I mean, there's this like feeling of shame. That was kind of like what we were talking about, like on the Murder of the Christmas Express, how, you know, there's this massive amount of rapes every year in every country that aren't even reported. Like, nobody talks about it when they get sexually assaulted sometimes. I mean, they have their own reasons for not wanting to. And also, it's like a domino effect. If they find out, they're going to make her tell Adam. They're going to, and she doesn't, in her mind, she can't do it. I have actually a reference quote for that. Olive's thoughts about wanting to protect Adam from her knowledge of Tom's character. Page 302. The truth, Adam, is that your friend, your collaborator, a person you clearly love and are so close to, is horrid and despicable. He told me things that might be truths or maybe lies. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure of anything anymore, and I would love to ask you so badly, but I'm terrified that he might be right and that you won't believe me. And I'm even more terrified that you will believe me and that what I tell you will force you to give up something that is very important to you, your friendship and your work with him. I'm terrified of everything, as you can see. So instead of telling you the truth, I will tell you another truth. The truth that I think will be best for you. The truth that will take me out of the equation, but will make its results better, because I'm starting to wonder if this is what being in love is. Being okay with ripping yourself to shreds so the other person can stay whole.
Ugh, that part made me like sad for her a little bit. That's what was like going through her head. Like, she's hurting so much, and the fact that she's truly thinking like, does love mean that? Because like, love doesn't mean that. You know what I mean? But she doesn't understand what love means.
But I mean, you're willing to sacrifice anything for someone you love. But this isn't healthy though.
No, exactly. But also, like, what do you think that's gonna do to Adam?
And isn't it right after that she like cuts off, or did she try to cut off their like situationship before then?
Well, they came to the end of their date that they had set.
It's right after. No. Because right after that, she says the other truth, and the truth that she tells him is that our deal, like our timeline has finished. Our timeline is done. Like, we don't have to do this anymore.
Well, because because it was coming down to the day.
Well, and she also says she's not going to go to Harvard. She's like, I'm not going. Like, I'm not going to do the project there. Like, I'm pulling out. Remember? Because at the end, she says, I'm not going to Harvard. I think it would just be best for us to cut ties.
Well, and the date...
This was fun. This was great.
Yeah, exactly. And the date that they put on it was like September 29th. And like that weekend, like the day after they hook up in the hotel room, like that was the 29th. And then she finds out that he got his funds and like they're in the clear. But in Adam's mind, this isn't going to change anything. And he's like, hey, well, I'm going to be here on this interview and then we'll meet up for coffee, come by, we'll have dinner, blah, blah, blah. When Ann and Malcolm accidentally overhear that recording or whatever, it forces Olive to finally come clean about one of her lies to Ann, that the whole thing was fake dating and like she was the reason why. And even Ann was like, you what? That's so fucking stupid. You're so stupid. Like, why did you do that?
And I think it's a good way for then Olive to realize, like, your relationships matter. Like, the people that love you regardless. Like, this was so dumb. And it helps her learn that, like, oh, I've been doing all of this and she didn't even care. Like, why have I been acting
I loved
this way?
that part, Deynece. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
Because it's like a learning experience. It's not just like she's insufferable. It's like it was a lesson for her.
Yes.
Yes. Like you were saying, like you were okay with the communication at the end because it shows the growth, which is true. Like it was a good development of like growth and learning. Like you can be honest. People that love you for you, and you don't have to pretend. You don't have to go.
Oh yeah,
through
and
all
by
these
lying,
hoops.
you're hurting yourself and them.
Yeah, well, and it definitely makes some of those things more palatable towards the end, whereas like during, you're just like, oh my fucking god.
Well, and she also never had that guidance and that nurturing to teach you those things. You know, when you don't have that person to help you learn those things, that person that's supposed to help teach you that as you're having problems, as you're growing older, you don't really have that person to go to say, what do I do here? And like share your problems with them in a completely comfortable environment. You know, you can develop bad habits without even realizing it, without even understanding that the way you're thinking is harming yourself.
Yeah. And like you were saying, Lita, earlier, those aren't mistakes she's probably going to repeat.
Yeah.
You know, now that she's gone through.
And I also think that it doesn't help that the career path she chose is extremely demanding and stressful.
Yeah.
Like on top of all of these social problems that are going on in Olive's life, she is under intense academic pressure. And like you said, Deynece, she's trying to do all this stuff for the conference and like she's been working so hard. I mean, the general understanding that I get from this book is that the career of academia is not really the funnest world to be in.
And you really have to be passionate about it to make it.
I liked when all the things started coming to a head. Like I loved, there's a lot of things that I liked about it, but for me it was almost like, oh, I could take a sigh of relief once everything came out about the conversation they had after everything exploded with Tom and the dinner and him freaking out and pushing him against the wall and like making the scene. Like I loved that because I was just like, finally, it's all out on the open. Nobody's hiding anymore. There's no lies. He's showing his true feelings and like showing her that he is defending her and is loyal to her. But then I liked their conversation after the fact when then they were both just open and honest about the kiss years ago, and it's like the very end, but I was like, thank God we got here, because I would have been really bothered if like we didn't have that moment of like, did they ever talk about the fact that it was them? So like I liked that the book kind of more so ended with all of the things being out on the table, and then they're talking about, oh, it's a year later, so then you realize, okay, they've been together for like a year now. So I think my favorite part was just like the way that they wrapped up the end, making me feel like, okay, thank God, at least all the stuff like was out on the table.
Deynece, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Woo! Same brain. It's a real thing for sisters. So
I know. I right. It's our brains. It's our
same brain for sister brain. Sister brain.
I loved the scene when Adam finds out. I loved everything about that scene. I loved that Olive crashed the dinner.
Yes.
That she said, I'm not waiting another fucking second to tell the truth and to tell Adam that this is happening. Like, I'm not going to wait another second. Like, she just had enough. And she finally had that confidence. And she goes in there. She's got so much confidence. And he's right there. And she's still like, no, I'm doing this now. Right in front of your fucking face. Fuck you. And
just plays it.
And then Adam's reaction was so...
Oh, so good.
Well, yeah, it just like blew
but she
up
was gonna,
though.
like,
It just
wait
like everything
until
happened.
Like, he was done with his dinner and then just kind of flag him over. She just didn't want.
Yeah, but he was like, "No, like you're here. Like, what's wrong?" You know, he could tell immediately something was wrong, and she had been feeling weird about everything, and I just loved it. Like, and his reaction, because you know Tom's like creeping up, like, "Come over here, man. Don't watch that video." Like, what? Like he's
hey,
not going to
you're
see it
embarrassing
eventually
me in front of my colleagues. God.
Right? And then he just smashes him up against the wall and throws him around. And, you know, the doctors, they come up and they're like, what is the meaning of this? I must know immediately, Dr. Carlsen.
And I loved
what
when
is the
he
meaning?
was like, you have to leave. Like, you need to leave us. And Tom thinks that he's talking to Olive, and then he's like, Tom, leave. And then he was like, me?
Well, yeah, because Olive is like, okay, for sure, yeah. And he's like, not you, Tom, fucking Tom, get out of here.
Yeah. I love that in that moment, he was like showing to her, like, that if she shows up, he's showing up for her. Like, it didn't matter. It didn't matter the situation. I just loved it.
Yeah. I loved that he, like, grabbed her face and he was like, this is ridiculous. I'm going to take care of this.
Mm-hmm.
You just chill out. Like, I have authority here. I know exactly how to handle this shit, and it will be handled immediately. And he just, like, is like, I'm going to go take care of this, and then I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to take care of you.
Yeah.
It was just so sexy. And then he totally fucking did. He was like, oh, he's done. He's so done. He's more than done.
Yeah.
He's over. His career's over.
Well, and even just, like, his shock when he's, like, the realization, like, because all of those little, like, pieces are, like, clicking into place for him. He was like, it was him. That day you were crying.
That's why you were crying?
And then, that's why you were crying. But he's also, like, I think, picking up on the fact that, like, that's also why she didn't tell him, because it was Tom.
But not only that, but, like, I'm sure that he feels in a way, part of the anger is he feels responsible. Because that is somebody that he brought.
Yeah.
I mean, he had reached out to her before he knew who she was.
She had her communication with him well before.
Yeah, but they had all gotten closer together. There was, like, opportunities opening up.
Yeah.
Like, there was this kind of, like, entangled, and he had brought Tom around her more often than not. Like, it wasn't, their interaction didn't become so much of a scientific, well, I take you on, is more of like, oh, you're part of the gang now. Like, it became more of more intimate of a relationship between her and Tom because of Adam. And I'm sure that he felt some responsibility for that, because he feels like he would never want anything to happen to Olive. He wants to protect her. And then also, like, realizing that person, that you trusted him with her.
Yeah.
That you trusted him to make her, that she would be safe with him, you know?
Yeah, but also Tom equally used Adam as leverage too against Olive. Like, who do you think they're gonna believe? Like, you or Adam?
So, like, the ending, I loved the conclusion. I love that you got to see, like, a little bit of an epilogue, like, a year later, and they're still together, and they're
I loved it.
Doing their thing, and they didn't need Tom.
I loved the bonus chapter too. Like that was fun too, because the bonus chapter is like in the moment of the hotel scene and his perspective. And so I loved getting that. And I was like, wow, it was like even dirtier than I thought. I was like, well, whoa. It was like,
it was a fun time for sure.
Hypothesis: there is no moment in life that cannot be improved by food delivered by conveyor belt.
That was so weird to me. It's like I've never had food delivered to me on a conveyor belt.
That sounds fun. Deynece, have you ever been to one of those sushi places where they...
Yes, I have.
I've always wanted to go.
I like other sushi places better, but I have been to one. And I usually order not off the conveyor belt because I don't know how fresh it is.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how long it's been
that's what I'm saying.
around.
Like, it always has just seemed like a gross concept to me, not like a good one.
Yeah, like I've been there, but I've never
fish.
eaten off of it. Yeah, I like order my own like one sushi roll.
Well,
that comes to
even
me.
in general, even if I didn't like fish, like the idea of like whatever food I'm eating being on that conveyor belt for a long time, and people being like, do I want this? Like people can touch it and then leave it there. Like, who's touched that? I don't know.
Yeah, not necessarily.
Was there air? You don't know.
I sat in front of it and ordered a salad or like my own signature sushi roll, but not like a... I've never said, I'm going to do your buffet of your conveyor belt sushi. I'm just, it's not my deal.
Even Adam is like, please God, no. And she's like, yes. No, please God, no. And she's like, yes, we're doing it. We're doing it.
No, I don't need it.
It's like a bucket list restaurant for me.
Really? You have to go to one. They're probably
I want to go so bad.
You gotta go.
I love sushi too.
I do too.
I like vegetarian sushi. Well,
Jared likes the crab rangoon.
They have vegetarian
sushi rolls that are fried.
Like they're rolled up the same way as sushi, except there's just no fish in it. So, you know, it's interesting. I felt slightly different than both of you when it came to the conclusion, because I loved the confrontation scene so hard. I was like, yes, yes, yes. And then it went straight back to cringe, like, oh, how about we go on a double date in a Chinese restaurant instead of having a conversation? Yeah. I was like, I was so annoyed about that. I was so annoyed about that. And even Adam, and we also, like, hopped right over, like, he says, he, like, drops the L-bomb in there, like, without even meaning to. He's like, you will not talk about that way about the woman I love. And I was like, and it's just like never addressed. Like she never, and she doesn't even clue into it because again she's so fucking dense. And she's like, he couldn't possibly love me. He's like, he literally said it, and so like there was like it was such a satisfying scene, and then it was just like 10 hours later, and like we didn't get to see a lot of those like. That main payoff of the two of them, like
because Adam was taking care of shit. He was busy taking care of shit.
But like, for me, even the scene where they were talking about stuff felt super incomplete, and I was ultimately disappointed by the payoff.
I hated that she chose that moment to be like, oh, really? I'm not in love with Jeremy. I'm in love with you. I was talking about you, silly. I was like, you didn't tell him that immediately after the confrontation with Tom.
Right.
It just like, I walked away being like, you were right there and you missed it. You missed it by that much. Because then it got kind of cringy and weird. Like, why are we doing a double date? And even Adam.
But it was very rom-com.
It was gross. I hated it. I actually super hated that whole scene. I hated it.
Do you remember at the end, what's the one with Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson?
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Okay, do you remember at the end, all he did was he rode her down on his motorcycle and pulled her over on the side of the road, and he was like, did you mean this, or is this to sell papers? And she's like,
I meant every word.
I meant every word.
I meant every word. And that was like the end of the movie. It was kind of like that. It was just like...
Okay, but here's the difference, because that was just the end. We had to slog through a weird ass fucking dinner double date at a Chinese restaurant and then have a weird pumpkin spice debate. I'll get into that later. Like, I'm like, why are we having all of these conversations that don't matter with these friends?
I did feel that a little bit. I felt that too.
Right? It just felt like so weird and out of place. I'm like, I want them to be alone together. And even when they get out of the car and they're like looking intently at each other, and he's like, well, you don't, I mean, if you don't want to hang out with me, you can just say it. And he's like, I don't want to hang out with you. I want to hang out with Olive. Like, let's go somewhere and be alone so we can like get all this stuff out. And then she's like, come on, it will be fun. And I was just like, oh, why are we doing this?
Let's make sure we don't get burgers because they taste like feet.
It was just like...
Right.
I really did. Another thing that I really enjoyed about the book was their banter. I loved Olive and Adam's banter.
Where he's like, you're insufferable.
Oh, yeah. They had wonderful chemistry.
The smart-ass nickname actually worked for me because it was appropriate to them and their situation, the way that he would call her smart-ass, like, as a nickname.
That was cute. Yeah.
But, like, that moment with, like, on page 326, when he, like, throws Tom against the wall and he's like, I'm going to kill you if you say another word about the woman I love. If you look at her, if you even think about her, I'm going to fucking kill you.
I wanted her to, like, look at him, grab his face, and just kiss him, and then let it finish.
Yes.
Like, just like, acknowledge it. Just be like, oh my God, Adam. Grab his face, kiss him, and then let him get back to business. But, like, acknowledge it in the moment.
Yes.
Like, in the moment.
I can't believe that he didn't kiss her in that moment.
I know. So it was like that scene was so amazing, and then it was just
Let's hope that if this becomes a movie, that the writer, like, writes that in.
Right.
Like
it needs to be like that.
Like, this could be, like, a cute little Netflix movie.
1-star reviews.
1-star reviews. 1-star reviews. Star reviews.
All right. You want to hear some Goodreads stats? Here we go.
Hit me with some stats.
The Love Hypothesis by Allie Hazelwood has an average rating of 4.12 out of 1,569,415 ratings.
Whoa.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Most people rated this book 5 stars at 42%, which is roughly 665,000 people. The least amount of people rated this 1 star at 1%, but that's still 26,379 people. That's a pretty decent chunk.
They had to say.
And here we go. These are the ones I picked.
I like it.
Jay says, know what kind of drugs y'all are on, but evidently I did not receive my portion.
That's good.
Ellen says, he had her whole boob in his mouth. I'm scared.
What are you scared of? The small-breasted woman taking over the world?
Well, do you remember that line? He was like, he put my entire boob in his mouth, and I was like, Jesus.
She's a itty bitty titty committee. Like, she's just got the baby ones.
Elle says, finding out that this book was originally an Adam Driver Star Wars fanfic has really shaken things into perspective for me. I wish I had never known.
Is that how you found out, by doing the 1 stars?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's how I found out.
Did you fact check that? Like, is it true? Because I have a different fact check.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay.
I would say that probably half of the comments were about Adam Driver.
Really?
Half of the 1 stars.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
a ton was about Star Wars and stuff. That was the only Star Wars one I picked out, though. Zoe says, the love hypothesis? More like the hate hypothesis. Hate this book with everything I have. Book Talk will pay for its crimes against false promotion.
I feel like it's pretty upfront about what it's going to be.
Right?
Seema says, I have many regrets. The Love Hypothesis is a book that I went in with low expectations, and somehow I was even more displeased with it than I expected.
Rose is displeased. You do.
Annie says, this is a quote from the book before she... Annie says, "You're so big." He groaned into her neck. His entire body was vibrating with tension. "You can take it." "I can," she told him, voice reedy and her breath caught halfway through the second word. Women gave birth, after all, except that he was not really, not even half. And there was just no more room. I will never forget this, thanks.
Who hurt you?
That's hilarious. But also that was a little cringy. Like, so,
It was,
you know, like that's a little
some of it was
cringy.
really
So like
some of it was cringy. Yeah,
I give it. That was cringy. I was like,
I'll
oh my
never
God, just
forget
shut
this,
up.
thanks.
Oh my God. Thanks.
I don't know how to pronounce this. I apologize to this person. Shrishti. That's really wrong. Shrishti says, "Fuck this shit. I can't believe you all like it. Get better taste and read more books."
Show HD.
Nina says, "Extremely unsatisfactory. The main characters are supposed to be scientists, but seem to think that the solution to their problems is to fake date as opposed to having adult conversations with their friends. Goodness, if this was a representation of actual scientists, I would beg to exist this Earth." This is what it says. "I would beg to exist this Earth ASAP."
They probably meant
she's
to say
not
exit
wrong,
this
but
Earth.
also like
Oh my
you'll
gosh.
like this, Tiffany. I couldn't believe it when I saw the name. Honestly, Sophie says. Honestly, Sophie. Yes! I love Honestly, Sophie. This is the third Honestly, Sophie review. We could reach out to her.
We have to.
Says, "Imagine having sex and apologizing for being wet."
Right?
Because she was like,
right?
"Oh, I'm so wet. I'm so sorry. It's just dripping everywhere."
He's like, "Oh my God."
Gross.
Honestly, Sophie, she's back in our 1 star.
She's back. And this is my last one. Corrine says, "Hypothesis. Thinking you'll like a book because so many have spoken highly of it is never a good idea."
That's clever.
Well said. Well said. Okay.
Well said. Why don't we do final thoughts and ratings? You know what, Tiffany? Why don't you take the lead on this one? You go first.
Yeah.
Okay. My final thoughts. This was a cute and easy read. I'd be lying if I say I didn't cringe really hard through a lot of it, honestly. I don't hate the fake dating trope, but if you're going to do it, at least make it for a plausible reason. Could have just been easily solved with one sentence to a best friend, like, "You should date him, I don't mind." I wasn't really that into it. Olive was kind of cringy as a character most of the time, but the book really hit its stride in the second half, and I had to admit, like, okay, this is cute. I like what's happening. The spice was decent, and the build was great. We hit the grand finale, and that was really fun. But then it did get a little bit anticlimactic right after that, so I didn't hate it, didn't love it. It was fun. It was a fun time. I wasn't mad at it, but I probably wouldn't like read it again. I gave it a 3.5. I'll probably round down on Goodreads. Solid 3 for me.
Okay. Nisi, you want me to go next?
Sure. I'll close us out.
I don't really have a whole lot of thoughts. I thought that this was a fun, light, heartfelt romance rom-com style. It was cute. It was quick. It kept me entertained. I read it very quickly. It was a very fast read because I wanted to know what was going to happen next. I kept going. I enjoyed it. I liked the journey. I loved the setting. I felt like it was a very unusual setting. I don't think I've ever read a romance that kind of took place in a college in this way. It was fun, and it wasn't cringy or creepy like the fact that he was a professor and she was a grad student. Like,
You
it was
are
very
right
mature.
about that. It did handle that well. It never felt gross.
Yes. And I really enjoyed it. I would recommend it because I think that it's just a fun, easy read that is enjoyable. So I gave it 4 stars. 4 stars from me.
Love it.
Niecy.
Yeah, always the Niecy call.
The Niecy call.
I enjoyed the book. It was an exceptionally fast read, very quick. For anybody listening, I didn't physically read it. I listened to the audiobook. Like I was saying earlier, I think that the second half was much more like engaging. So it was like I got through the first half being like, okay, when is it gonna like start to kind of pick up a little bit? And then it did. It was super quick. I think I finished listening to it within three days, and it was so fast. I would recommend it because it was like enjoyable, fast, easy, light. Like, you can't really dissect it too much, even though we've spent 3 hours doing just that. I gave it 4 stars.
Yeah. I win.
I gave it 4 stars. But I do think there was like predictability to it, but I could, in my mind, I mean,
all rom-coms are predictable.
Yeah. It was like, I could see this being a cute Netflix movie that if Julius is at rehearsal or on snow shift and I'm just at home and I'm like, what am I going to watch? Oh, there's this new Netflix movie, Love Hypothesis. I'd watch it. I'd be like, oh, that was cute. I wouldn't necessarily be like, oh my God, I'm going to watch it again. But like, I wasn't mad at the time I spent. I gave it 4 stars.
Hey. And you know what? I also felt like it was comfortable in the fact that when you're reading it, you kind of know that it's not super high stakes. Like, you know, everything's going to work out in the end. You know,
for sure.
It's not super stressful.
Totally. It was cute.
All right. So group rating 4 stars because it's 2 against 1. I win.
All right. 4 stars group rating. I can round up. I ran it down.
I kid.
Well, I mean, I did 3.5 technically, but like on my personal Goodreads, I'll probably round down. But like, I'm comfortable rounding up to 4 with you guys. I enjoyed aspects of the book more like talking with you guys about it than I did on my own. So this is the best part about book club.
I loved talking about it with you guys. This was so fun.
This was so much fun. This was a blast. And I'm so glad that you guys both recommended it to me. And Lita, you, I think, were the first one that recommended it. And you text me the cover. And you're like, this is just a cute read. And I had just finished up Iron Flame. And I liked the idea of something different coming off of like all the Akhtar. And then... Fourth Wing, and then Iron Flame. I was like, I want something like light and fun. Driving
like a palate
while
cleanser.
I'm cooking. Like it's just
it kind of clears your brain.
Thank you so much for coming on with us and talking with us about it. Like, this is so fun. Like, this is not like one that we had planned to do together, but I love that it happened organically and it was so much fun.
I know. I loved it. It was just like, hey, do you wanna? And we were all like, yeah.
Like, this is the night we're recording. Like, let's do it. Like, you're done. We're done. Like, hop on with us.
I know. I loved it.
Our guest star is
go
vacating.
And rest your body and your mind.
Your soul.
Body
I'm gonna
and
go take
mind.
a shower. And then I might
maybe your man can like give you a massage.
He told me last night that he would give me a massage tonight. I don't know if he's already in bed or not.
I mean, he can rub you out one way or the other.
He's really good.
Oh.
Hey, Deynece, I have some homework for you. Will you see, just as an experimenting, I'll do the same. See if he can fit your entire breast in his mouth.
Oh,
Oh. Mine's like a cantaloupe.
Like,
it's so big.
He
I
can't.
don't think he can fit it.
It's good stuff.
I love you so much.
I
Thank
love
you
you
for
too, you
being
guys.
here.
Love you.
I
Oh
love
my God, of
you.
Love
course.
you.
This
Thank you
was
for
so
coming.
much
Go rest.
It was
fun.
so good to see your
Thank
face. I love you.
I love you guys.
Yay.
My
Mwah.
hypothesis is that I will keep you as sisters forever. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night. Quotes?
Quotes.
Do you want to go first?
Ready?
Yes, I am ready,
Sure.
baby.
All right, guys. Here are the
Cheers.
quotes that Tiffany and I highlighted. Cheers. Cheers to everyone here.
Cheers to everyone.
Here we go. Little bonus time you get with us tonight.
I mean, we always do quotes.
Just the
like
two of us.
Denise had to bow out, but we're gonna do the quotes.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Page 5.
Oh, you beat me.
Oh, she smiled. Annoying parents, and even worse, Thanksgivings. That's what you Americans get for leaving the Commonwealth. Because she's Canadian. Olive is Canadian.
Olive is Canadian, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I thought I would have the earliest one. Mine was on page 10, and it was during their first kiss. The man inhaled sharply and inclined his head a tiny bit, making Olive feel less like a squirrel monkey climbing a baobab tree.
What does that mean?
I just was thinking like okay, spider monkey, like Twilight. What's a squirrel monkey? Is a squirrel monkey a thing?
Page 27. The heartbreak was going to make her flunk out of grad school. She was going to lose her visa and her only source of income and move back to Canada, where it snowed all the time and people ate moose heart.
Moose heart?
Yes.
So this one's on page 30, and they're establishing their ground rules with their dating, and he's basically saying, you should probably call me Adam, like when we're around your like friends or whatever. If that's okay with you, I'm going to go home because this whole thing was kind of stressful, and I was going to run an experiment, but I really need to sit on the couch and watch American Ninja Warrior for 45 minutes while eating Cool Ranch Doritos, which taste surprisingly better than you give them credit for.
Okay, page 35. Carlsen. Is he blackmailing you? Did he find out that you're an aberration and pee in the shower? You said that earlier.
I did.
I was like, she got it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to scoop you again. Page 33. Page 33 on is sussing out over why she must be dating Adam. Because I am made of sterner stuff, but never mind that. The point is, I'm here for you, and always will be, no matter what. No matter how many pounds of spoiled shrimp cocktail you projectile vomit, you can trust me. We're a team, you and I. And Malcolm, when he's not busy screwing his way through the Stanford population. So if Carlsen is secretly an extraterrestrial life form planning a takeover of Earth that will ultimately result in humanity being enslaved by evil overlords who looked like cicadas.
Jesus Christ.
And the only way to stop him is dating him, you can tell me and I'll inform NASA.
That was an interesting monologue.
Right, cringy.
Page 55. The ghost of a smile appeared on his mouth, but he said nothing. And I thought to myself, what does the ghost of a smile look like?
It's like
what exactly?
It's like barely there, like.
No, not if that's a smirk. That's a smirk. What's a ghost of a smile? You can't. I was like, that makes no sense. What does that mean?
It reminds me of Ted when he like has his naked girl thing. And he's just like, page 59. Fake dating Adam, and they're gonna have to actually like do things together. And she's like, "What do you do for fun?" And he says, "Things, stuff." Stuff? He says dubiously, "Yep, stuff. Like, what do you do for fun?" He was probably into something atrocious, like cow tipping excursions, or Japanese beetle fighting. Maybe he collected porcelain dolls. Maybe he was an avid geocacher. Maybe he frequented vaping conventions. Oh, God.
Thought of it. Page 162. She rolled her eyes. You have no taste. Her phone pinged with a reminder. Oh, we should go to Flucella, too, before coffee. A vertical line appeared between his brows. I'm afraid to ask what that is. Flucella, Olive repeated, though it was clearly not helpful, judging from how the line bisected his forehead deepened. Mass flu vaccination for facility staff and students, at no charge. Adam made a face. It's called Flucella. Like Coachella, that's so stupid.
That's so stupid. Okay, this is a random one that I actually like weirdly like. Page 81. Olive had been in love with the rain since as far back as she could remember. She inhaled deeply and filled her lungs with petrichor, stopping Adam under the canopy. And that's one of my favorite words.
Petrichor?
Petrichor, because it's like half my last name, and it literally means the smell of rain.
Oh, I love that.
And that's like my favorite thing. And it has like my last name is Petri, Petrichor. It's spelled like my last name, Petri, core, like petrichor. And I like rain is my favorite thing. The smell of rain is my favorite thing. And I was like, that's my favorite word. And I've never seen it in a book before, and it's always been my favorite word. And I got really excited about it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Page 210. Are you afraid that I'll... Oh, this is Adam, by the way. This is Adam talking to Olive. Are you afraid that I'll try to kiss you without your consent? To sit on your lap or fondle you under the pretext of applying sunscreen? Because I would never. I thought that was cute.
That was cute.
I loved their banter, like I said earlier.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah. Page 179 is just it was one of those hypothesis moments at the top of a chapter. Hypothesis. Whenever I lie, things will get worse by a factor of 743. Yeah, so stop doing it.
Such an odd number.
Stop doing it, though. Stop lying. You already know that it's a bad idea. Stop it.
Page 244. He smelled amazing. He felt even better. You know, the room's only 20 meters away. I have no idea what that means. Adam, we Americans think in feet, Canada.
Page 198. Olive is insecure about speaking at her talk. And she's talking with her professor. And she's saying, like, I can't do this. And she's like, yes, you can. And she says, like, I'm not, I stammer, I blush, I meander a lot, especially in front of large crowds. And Olive, Dr. Aslan interrupts her with a stern tone. What do I always tell you? Don't misplace the multi-channel pipette. The other thing, she sighed. Carry yourself with the confidence of a mediocre white man. Like, not the best advice.
Oh, man. There was also a lot of one-star reviews that mentioned that line.
Oh, I don't
doubt it. The mediocre white man
like,
line.
Like, I was like, like, also aim higher than that. Like, I was like, ugh, really? Like, I know you're trying
it was
to,
kind of
like,
gross.
like, I know you're trying to be funny, but ew. Like, it didn't hit.
I don't
did
know.
not hit.
Page 263.
Oh, that's mine! I have one. My next one was page 263. I'll die if it's the same one.
Oh. He pushed his hand against her shoulder blades to make her arch towards him, and then closed his mouth against her breast, all teeth and tongue and wonderful, delicious suction. Olive whimpered against the back of her hand because she hadn't thought that she'd be so sensitive. But her nipples were tight and raw and almost sore. And if he didn't do something soon, she'd... You're edible, Olive.
Literally, where you started is where mine starts. Page 263. You're edible, Olive. His palm pressed against her spine, and Olive arched a little more, an offering of sorts. That's probably an insult, she breathed out with a smile, considering you only like wheatgrass and broccoli. Oh.
Good.
That's funny.
Page 299. Do you have this one too?
No, I don't. But that was just very funny.
He's not allergic. He fakes it because he doesn't like nuts.
Nuts aren't for everyone, you know. Page 267. They're in the middle of fooling around, and she basically tells him that, like, she's only done this a couple of times. And he's basically like, oh, well, we should probably stop because you're basically a virgin. And then her little, like, nerd brain turns on and she says, no, that's not the way it works. Virginity is not a continuous variable. It's categorical, binary, nominal, dichotomous, ordinal, potentially. I'm talking about chi-square, maybe Spearman's correlation, logistic regression, and that stupid sigmoid function, and, like, just, like, stop talking. Just stop talking.
What is happening?
Stop talking.
It's like the worst word vomit. Like the worst science word vomit.
Right?
Like, she talks a lot.
Like, actually, virginity is like, blah, 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 like, oh my God. Like
oh my God, this is not the
time. You took a hot
time.
moment and poured a bucket of cold water on it. Like, just shut up.
Not for Adam. He's hard for her all the time. All right, page 348.
Okay.
Me too. Ah! Hey. She swallowed.
Yeah, she did.
No. No. It starts off bad, but it's not that kind of... We're not there. We're not where you think you are. She swallowed. Not being able to see something, even if it's in front of your eyes. Purposefully making yourself blind just because you're afraid of seeing too much. Thought that was a beautiful line.
That's a good one.
And that's all I have. It's my last quote.
Okay, I have one more, and it kind of segues into a fact check. So, prepare yourself.
Oh.
Page 336. It's that cringy diner scene after everything has been said and done. And everyone is giving Olive, like, weird shit for being obsessed with pumpkin spice. And now everybody's just, like, giving her a really hard time about it. And so starts the pumpkin spice debate of the final pages. Like, after all the things that have happened in this book, we have spent more time on a pumpkin spice debate than their relationship. And that's annoying to me. Page 336. This is a serious matter. Malcolm let his menu fall on the table. Pumpkin spice is Satan's dandruff, harbinger of the next apocalypse, and it tastes like ass. Not in a good way. One pumpkin spice latte contains the same amount of sugar you'd find in 50 Skittles and no pumpkin whatsoever. Look it up. He goes on to say, pumpkin spice is not harmless. It's a radioactive, overpowering sugar bomb that worms its way into every sort of product and is single-handedly responsible for the extinction of the Caribbean monk seal.
Is that true?
I fact-checked it. Welcome to the fact-check portion of today's episode. No. I did extensive research today. The Caribbean monk seal went extinct due to human overhunting and overfishing. Not pumpkin spice. It's a seal. It has literally nothing to do with pumpkin spice. It's a seal that lives in the ocean. It has nothing to do with pumpkin spice at all. The Caribbean monk seal was
Did you put the words together in the search? Did you put the words together, pumpkin spice and the seal?
Yeah, I asked, like, is the Caribbean monk seal, like, extinct because of pumpkin spice? Because that's what the book claims. And it said no.
You're the only person on the planet that has ever Googled that. Google's like, I don't know.
Why is it in there? The Caribbean monk seal, like, was the first seal to go extinct due to human activity. The last confirmed sighting was in 1952, and the U.S. declared its species extinct in 2008. Declare. I do declare. Also, the pumpkin spice latte would not be invented until 2003 by a Starbucks employee when he pitched the idea of a pumpkin spice latte to the company. Also, and it wasn't until 2015 that Starbucks retooled the pumpkin spice latte to include actual pumpkin in their pumpkin spice lattes.
Okay.
Also, the spices that are typically used in pumpkin spice are cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, cloves, and sometimes allspice. The combination of these spices with coffee predates pumpkin pie by centuries. But I'm like, it was just like such a random thing. I was like, is that true? Like, it can't be. Like, what does the seal have anything to do with pumpkin spice? They live in the ocean. Like, why is that?
I'm getting to the bottom of this.
Why is that in there? Like, also, like, that was such a specific thing to write. Like, she must.
This is Lois Lane signing off.
It was just so odd. All right, that's all I got.
I love it. I love those kinds of factoids. They're so fun. Okay, well, we've come to the end.
That was
a fun time. We are at the end.
That was a fun time. Happy Valentine's Day for those who celebrate it.
Happy Valentine's Day.
I hope you and your significant other are having a great night. If you're having a date with a book, which is probably what I'll be doing.
Yeah.
And happy Valentine's Day
Celebrate
to you all.
in your own way. Or don't celebrate at all. Who cares? They just want your money.
Or maybe it's a date with a book boyfriend, and that's fine too. All right, well, we'll see you guys at the end of this month for Phantasma.
Yes, Phantasma by Kaylee Smith is our book selection for the month of February, and that episode will be coming out on February 28th. So come back and see us on February 28th, and it is a fun, gothic, sexy Hunger Games time. Yes.
And the cover is like very sexy with roses, but there's like a skull, so it's like edgy.
The cover is beautiful. I love the cover of Phantasma.
It's a very beautiful cover. Yes.
So can't wait to dive into that one. That is going to be also a sample of our After Dark.
Yes.
Patreon that we're going to be starting in August. How did you guys like The Love Hypothesis? Did you like it? Was it 5 stars, 4 stars, 1 star? If you have any thoughts or comments that you'd like to share with us, you can reach out to us through our website at www.bookmatespodcast.com. You can get to all of our socials from there. We have a link tree. We have YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and you can follow us on all our socials. If it pleases you.
If you have any, if it pleases you, And if you have any thoughts, feelings, ratings, opinions on any of our past or upcoming books, you can email us at bookmatespcast@gmail.com and let us know what you think. And if you're ahead enough, we will read those thoughts, feelings, and opinions on the show if you want. So if that's something you're interested in, give us an email and let us know.
Yeah, and if you really want to support the show, you can subscribe through our website. There is different options for you on there, and you can choose whatever amount you'd like to donate.
And that is lovely of you. And if you do that, we will shout you out on the podcast. And also very much thank you. And we couldn't do it without any of you.
And we actually have a couple of shout outs for subscribing to us.
Yeah, thank you so much to our beautiful supporters, Cindy, ×2. And
yes, and Troy.
Thank you so much for supporting our show. That is so kind of you. We appreciate you, and we appreciate all of you. And we will see you next time at book club with all of our bookmates.
Oh yeah, and thank you for being here with us for this journey. We love having you here. Thank you for supporting our show.
Thank you so much. It blows our minds that anyone listens to us, let alone anyone who's willing to give us a few bucks for it. And we're so grateful for all of you. And regardless of whether you do or don't, we're here and we love all of you. And thank you for joining us in book club.
Yay!
Yay!
Well, I love you.
I love you most. I win.
I love you mostest.
Damn it.
You lose. All right, I love you.
I love you
I'll
too.
talk to you tomorrow.
Indubitably.
Goodbye, bookmates.
Goodbye. We love you. We'll see you next time.
Love you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.